Hi, everybody. I'm Francisca. Nice to meet you in this our Learning Connect industry event of IMC. I hope everybody can hear my voice. You may be working from home or from the office now. Nevertheless, in these unusual circumstances, I hope you are in a safe environment. Businesses have changed drastically since the beginning of this year. Adaptability, nimbleness, and alignment are important to ensure our survival, which needs to be supported by a robust learning and development strategy. Skills development is on the trend, especially in Singapore, where government support each citizen with a fund for learning. At the end of the day, an organization will not exist without its team, and we shall ensure that our team is prepared with skills and knowledge, making the organization stay competitive. This is the event agenda for today. There will be 6 sessions where each session will be about 20 minutes long. Of course, except for the welcome message from Christian, keynote speaker from Wolfram, and the discussion panel. It will be a compact and practical information sessions of how could we leverage learning and development to equip the staff to achieve business objectives. All sessions will be recorded. Send your questions via the chat functions with the name of the presenter or the session. All questions will be answered in the discussion panel session conducted by our managing directors from Singapore and Australia, where we will have a live sketch note illustration by our artists. I hope that you will enjoy all the sessions today. Before we begin, I will start an introduction poll as a warm-up to know your impression for next year. After that, there will be another 2 more polls to gain more understanding about your thoughts of 2021. I'm very excited because we are 3 months away from the new year and we will need to prepare the whole organization to embrace the future. I'll introduce Dan, Managing Director of IMC Australia, the co-host of today. Hello, Dan. How are you?
There we go. Technology, got to get the mute
Okay,
button
yeah.
off. Yes, thank
Okay,
you,
yeah.
Francesca.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you for that, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure for us to be here and to be able to present our session for you today. But one of the things that we'd like to do is that it is important for us to hear back from you, as it is for you to hear from us. So we wanted to add in a little element of interactivity, and so as Francesca's pointed out, we're going to run some poll questions. We will show you the answers to those questions just before we do the Q&A session, so we'll compile them in the background. So please stick around, because I think that hearing from each other and knowing what your colleagues are saying about certain things is really important. So please stick around, and we'll reveal those answers later in the session. So before we actually get started, just to give you a little bit of a warm-up, this is just a quick sort of introductory poll, which is really, given the challenges that we faced in 2020, what emotion best sums up your feelings regarding how you look, well, the outlook for 2021. So we'll just give you 5-6 seconds now with that poll up on your screen. Answer one of those options, and as I said, we'll just give you a few seconds and show you what the results are of that. After that, we'll jump into the actual poll questions that we wanted to ask you and move on from there. While you're doing that, I also just wanted to point out that Francesca mentioned that we're going to have one of our design artists join us later in the session when we're doing the panel and the Q&A. I think you'll find that really fascinating to watch how a design specialist can take concepts that are being discussed verbally and bring them to life in an illustrative format. And that all goes to the whole concept of learning, that people learn in different ways through. It could be through, audio, could be through the written form. Some people learn better through the illustrative format. So I think you'll really enjoy that as a different way of interpreting or seeing how information is interpreted. So Francesca, let's just have a quick look at the answers or the results of that sample poll. Oh, well, that's good. Interesting. So 50% of people are excited about next year, or 27% pensive. Nobody's fearful, which is great. 23 are confused. I think that's probably fair, and nobody's yet relieved. So yeah, that's interesting, and I think really positive that half the audience are excited about 2021, and we are too. We're at IMC. We're really excited about the future, and we think that once we get over this obvious challenge that we're dealing with, that it's going to be amazing. So yeah, great. So that was just a sample poll. Francesca, let's get into the first two actual poll questions that we wanted to ask the audience. So the first question that we wanted to put to you guys is, do you expect business conditions in 2021 to improve? And the second question is, do you believe your organization will be doing more learning and development in 2021? So let's pull up the first poll question and we'll give people a full 15 seconds to answer that one. So here we go. So do you expect your business condition, do you expect business conditions in 2021 to improve? So your options are yes, significant improvement, yes, moderate improvement, no, you think it's going to remain flat, or no, you think it's going to continue to deteriorate. So let's give the audience another 10, 12 seconds, Francesca.
Okay. So still, yeah, about 65% voted. Yeah, now is 68%. So I'll let you know.
Yeah,
I think maybe
just
another 5 seconds, yeah, should be fine.
yeah. Let's just give it another 5, 6 seconds. Give people the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to the
I
next one.
close.
Yep.
Okay.
And do you believe your organization? That's excellent. So do you believe your organization will be doing more learning and development in 2021? So yeah, your options are yes, significantly more, yes, moderately more, about the same as this year, a little bit less, or significantly less. So let's just give the audience another 10, 12 seconds to respond to that particular poll.
Okay. Yeah, still
And what we'll do,
67%.
okay, that's fine. Just give them another few seconds. And then for the audience, what we'll do is when we get to the panel session, the Q&A session, we'll have another couple of poll questions later, and then we'll reveal all of the answers. And I'm sure that you're all interested to see what your colleagues have got to say. So that's all for me for the moment. Francesca, I'll hand back to you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dan. We will continue with the official welcome message from Christian Wachter, our Chief Executive Officer. Hello, Christian. You can start now.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Francesca. Good afternoon. Yeah, thanks for joining. It's great to have you all here in this session this afternoon. And I'm happy to go into some details of today's agenda, because this agenda is also reflecting what we are doing in IMC currently. Yeah, what we have seen in the last months, it's really a dramatic change in the economy, also in the way organizations are delivering training, performance support, and this is also reflecting what companies like IMC are doing, and also reflecting how our product portfolio and the roadmap is influenced by drivers like the COVID situation we are currently seeing. And this is reflecting in the agenda, starting with my colleague Wolfram, who is talking about the learning outcome. This is one of our main drivers in IMC. The overall goal when looking into further developments of our products. We would like to give you some insights on our vision, how we would like to analyze the outcome of training. So to give you as learning and development managers arguments how your investments in training will influence business, and which components are needed, and how these things we are doing in the learning management system are really positively, hopefully, affecting your daily business. And this is then reflecting in many of the core activities in our product development. And as you can see then in the session with Lawrence talking about how the learning technology will influence and disrupt what's going on in training. We see many new formats like virtual conferences, collaboration tools, that needs to be integrated in our daily workflows, that are integrated in the daily workflows. And now it's also the question how we integrate learning and performance support into these activities. Therefore, we have started many activities in integrating virtual classroom tools, collaboration tools like Teams, so that you can combine learning, collaboration, and your daily work. And I think this is also key of what IMC is doing, and hopefully so Lawrence will talk about those aspects in changes. The other part, what is also currently a main driver is how we get the right content for all the training aspects we are facing, also the virtual and online ones. And there's also a main transition and change in the market that we need to enable our subject matter experts to create content by their own. And therefore I'm very happy that IMC is now starting a new authoring tool called BLISH, and our colleague Oliver is introducing you and giving you some deep insights on how we would like to engage learners and how we would like to engage subject matter experts in the future to create their content, to move into a direction that we support stronger user-generated content. And there IMC has created a new tool called BLISH, and Oliver will show you the possibilities. And of course, we hope that out of these presentations, we will also get some ideas for our panel discussions, also discussing together with you how you see the potential of those tools. And of course, when creating content, it's also important to have that concept in mind, how to create good content. And Nick is giving a session then talking about new ideas, new concepts, and how to design a real good learner journey that you have many and highly motivated learners for your tools and for the things you're creating. And I think these are really main drivers in the current situation that we have that huge transformation in all the business, that on-site training is reducing due to the situation that you're not allowed to travel, that you're not allowed to have a huge bunch of people together in meeting rooms. And therefore, also the technology can help to support this transformation. And on the other hand, this is then what Wolfram is telling us, we need to focus that all that input we are giving into such a transformation in the end will positively affect the business. And so I think we have created a great program for today to guide you through these channels, and hopefully you will get some new perspectives, some new insights on how training in the future can look like. And I hope that we'll have a fruitful panel discussion then at the end of today's session. And hopefully you can share then also your ideas of what you took out of today's meeting. So I wish you a very nice afternoon with a good information on what IMC are doing. And as Francisca has already told you, if you have some questions, please use today's chat functionality. And of course, contact your key person you know within IMC. They are happy to help you with all the questions that are coming. So thank you very much for joining, and now I hand over to Wolfram to give the first keynote for today.
Thank you very much. Hi, Wolfram. So it's your time now. Wolfram, Dr. Wolfram Jost is a member of IMC Executive Board. So Wolfram, please, you can continue.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction, and welcome to everybody also from my side to this learning event. As Christian mentioned, I would like to give you a very short overview regarding our new topics we are working on, and especially regarding learning analytics. Yeah, here you can see on a high level the 6 main topics we are working on. So what are the trends in digital learning we see today in the market? So let me pick some out of it. For example, user-generated content is something we are very much focused on. The new product for authoring, BLISH, will be shown also in this lesson. So a very important aspect to really bring content generation to the masses. AI-enabled learning, meaning how can we use AI methodologies and AI technologies in learning for recommendation? It's a very hot topic. Then learning analytics, this is my topic for the presentation, so no more on that. Then learner experience, so we are working on a new learner experience portal because we all believe that the experience of the learner gets really important. So how can a learner get access? How can he find the right content? How can he collaborate with his peers on content or on experiences? And the last one is the architecture. So we are in the transformation of the architecture of our system. So we are moving from a more monolithic oriented architecture to a more microservices, cloud oriented architecture. We will provide APIs, interfaces, so that you can access the content of the learning suite also from external systems. We are providing also event orientation for a more publish and subscribe based communication with our system. So as you can see, a lot is going on. Today, I would like to focus on learning analytics. Next slide. If we look to the today's situation, I think most of our customers and most companies are doing some analytics on learning data. For example, they are interested in the number of course completions, the number of certifications, how many hours of training per employee, what was the pass and fail rate. So I think even today people doing some analytics, but there's always a but. And please, next. So the key question for the management in a company is not how many course completions, how many number of certifications, how many hours of training. I think it's important, but for the top management of the company and for the budget you would like to get, they have another question. And this is, what is the really value we are getting out of training? So what is the business outcome of all these investments? We all believe that investments are important, but we are not sure. And this is, for example, an overview of KPIs where the management is interested in. So what is the revenue per employee? What is the profit per employee? What is the productivity? What is maybe the voluntary turnover? What is the customer satisfaction? What is the speed of employee development? So these are the KPIs that really matters, because these KPIs really describing the business outcome of the company. And what we have to do, we have to show the impact on learning, on development to these numbers. If we are able to show this, we are able to get the budget for our training investment. If not, learning and development people will always fight hard for their budget year over year, because the key question always is, what's the impact on the business? And therefore, learning analytics also needs to answer these questions. Not only the learning KPIs, but also the business KPIs. We will provide with our system 3 types of learning analytics. Type number 1 is what is called descriptive analytics. So this analytics describes what happened. For example, pass rates for the past 3 years, learning results by region. So these are the traditional KPIs which are still important, but we are looking backwards. We are looking to the past. All this happened. The next is the diagnostic analytics. We say, happen, we say, why does it happen? So this is way more important than what happened. So why have completion rates varied? Why do we see higher turnover? So the root cause is important. And the last one is the predictive analytics part, where we answer the question, oh, please go back, what will happen? So meaning if an employee takes these 3 courses, what would be the impact on performance? Is there an impact or not? What is the most probable next job for an employee? So from looking to the past, going to the root cause, and then going to what will happen. These are the 3 types of learning analytics we will provide out of the box for you. Next. And here you can see an example for such a dashboard. We will come up with 3 dashboards, prepared dashboards out of the box where you can get first results. For example, here you can see the revenue of the company. You can see the gap between the planned revenue and the as-is revenue per region. And then you can see the employee skill level by the same subsidiaries. And you can see also the gap between the actual skills and the target skills. And with this, you can then say, okay, do we see any patterns that in regions where we are behind revenue, we are also lacking skills? Is the skill gap of our people related to the performance gap of the company? Yes or no? If yes, how much? And how, if we compare region 1 with region 2 or region 3? Or can we say that a region that invested more in learning and development got better customer satisfaction and better employee satisfaction than regions investing less? Or even can we see that 2 regions invest the same amount of money, but nevertheless, one region gets better results than other regions? So maybe they spend the same money, but they do it in a different way. They have different courses, maybe different content, maybe a different system with a better learner experience. So the learner engagement is way better than in the other region. So these are the things we have to work on. We all have to be aware of one thing. Managers make decisions. To make decisions, we need data. The better the data, the better the decisions. And the more the learning and development department can show their influence on business KPIs, not only learning KPIs, as I mentioned it, the more the learning and development department will get the budget and the money they need. I think we all believe that this is important, but it's more a gut feeling today. There are no hard numbers to show it and to monitor it and to see the trends. So we will deliver to you this out-of-the-box dashboards. We also deliver the capability that you can define your own dashboards with your own metrics. And the good thing is also this can be done by the learning and development department. So there is no need to call the central IT department to get new KPIs or to get new dashboards. Today, with the traditional reporting, it's very often the case that there is a demand from the learning and development department, but then you have to go to the IT department, they have to get the job, they don't have time to do it, the report is complicated, it needs 6 weeks until the report is available, and then time is over, it takes too long. And therefore, we deliver to you a self-service analytics dashboarding component where the people can define their own KPIs and their own dashboards. Next. Okay, I think that was my last. Okay, that's now the last slide. Also a dashboard where you can see the employee turnover. And you can see, is there any relation between the employee turnover and skills and learning and development activities and budgeting? Is the turnover different on different levels, on senior management or on marketing or on sales? Can we say sales does more learning and development? We see a less turnover rate. Marketing does nothing in learning and development. We see a higher turnover. So I think you get the message. What you can do with this learning analytics dashboarding, you get better insight into your learning and development activities. You can better decide how to spend and where to spend the money. So I think this is crucial to get learning and development to a level where it needs to be as a central piece of investment to really improve the business performance. So that was it from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. If you would like to have more information about learning analytics dashboarding, contact our people. They will give you all information you need. And believe me, you need that in your company. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Wolfram. I will continue the presentations with LMS, Dare to Disrupt with Technology-Led Corporate Learning. Lawrence Low, our country manager from IMC Singapore, will deliver the presentation. So Lawrence, I will give you the presenter right.
Well, thank you, Francisca. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to the IMC Learning Connect. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the following areas. So these are the discussion areas. I've heard length about the pandemic, but with every crisis, there will be a recovery in time. With this new normal, it's every indication that it will be a digital-led ecosystem. So today we'll talk about why learning, unlearning, and also relearning is going to be the new normal digital imperative. And with technology as an enabler, and digital learning will be a disruptor for you and your companies. So we are not focusing on new technologies per se, because these are all evolving, but the focus here is to help you to prepare so that you can fast track digital competencies, not so much to predict, but also to fast track digital competencies, which I will elaborate a little bit about in a while. So this is myself, the country manager for IMC Singapore, and I'll be happy to take you through today. So COVID-19 is accelerating the drive towards digital. Okay, it will be a digital-led recovery by all indicators. So as companies seek to transform themselves and capture new opportunities, the L&D leadership, like yourself in the audience, right, you can prepare, prepare for and also provide the digital learning experience. And this will have a very important bearing on, amongst others, rapid accessibility to learning content, time to learn for your constituents, learning in a connected community, which is going to be more and more important in the digital-led recovery, self-directed learning by your people, and also choices for your learners. So to give you some examples of what, how does technology or digital is transforming businesses and lives. You see the advent of super apps, this very much in China, in North Asian countries, and also in catching up with the rest of the world. Okay, significant impact on how people transact, with companies. The rise of robotics, or the extensive use of robotics in manufacturing, as you can see in Manufacturing 4.0. And then closer to home in Singapore, the concept of a smart city, whereby citizens transact digitally with businesses as well as with governments. What does this all mean? Some time ago, in 2019, LinkedIn did a survey on how new tech is driving related skills to surface. Oh, this is very much a survey conducted on technology per se, but by every indicator, right? Soft skills are also going to be important. So soft skills like analytical skills, planning skills, business development skills, even empathy for that matter. Okay, if you were to look at some examples here, take for example in Singapore, if you talk about hard technology, blockchain is servicing. very much in manufacturing, very much in finance, workflow automation across industries. In China, areas like artificial intelligence, like blockchain, the list goes on in each of these countries, as you can see here. But really, what does this indicate to us? It's really about transformation and innovation by the industry per se. So with the rapid adoption of new technology into industry work processes, you're going to see not just an evolution of job roles, but a clear transformation of job roles as well. But what really does that mean to the rise of digital learning as well as digital enterprise? Now, there's a direct relationship between the rise of the digital enterprise and digital learning. So as the digital enterprise needs the digital competencies, right? We are talking about digital competencies needing digital training or digital learning. And digital learning, literally needs the digital learning technology and digital learning platforms, to enable this to happen. So looking at three areas: process, technology, and people. This is really where the L&D leadership can step in, because every viable organization today is on the path to some level of digitalization. And the challenge is really what and where to scale. So speaking of where learning leaders can step in, let me give you an example. This is really about jumping the curve. Jumping the curve for learning and development leaderships like yourself. This is a concept from algebra, the sigmoid function, if you will. Now, translating this to a business context, right? It's about jumping to the next curve by breaking down old levels or old patterns of thinking and doing work. So if you keep doing what you are doing, you're going to get a declining outcome. So if you look at the points from A to B, now to get to a different outcome, you need to do things differently. And this is the notion of jumping the curve where it comes in. I'll recommend you to read or to watch a video by Guy Kawasaki. Okay, it's on the Berkeley Tech Talk sessions. It's about the art of innovation. So briefly, he said something along the lines of when it comes to new opportunities, right? The perspective is really to jump curves. So coming back to my point earlier about where the learning and development leadership can come in. This is about jumping curves. To make purposeful use and to accelerate the deployment of learning technology, in your organizations. So it's about hitting the ground running, if you will. So you have new business models. New business models will need new skills. Okay, so this is again a causal relationship. New business models needing new skills. By virtue of the fact you're going to have skilled people who will fuel the digital economy. But skills availability in particular and quality of such skills can be in short supply. So what does that mean? Okay, that means that tech or digital learning can speed up the rate of learning and accessibility. And this is also going to be an impetus for lifelong learning motivation, which is going to be very key, as we transform into the digital economy. So this slide is about why a purposeful learning technology can enhance pedagogical potential. So Wolfram talked briefly just now about the learning experience. So this is one key area which IMC, besides analytics and others, we are focusing very heavily on. So the LMS can be the centerpiece for your learning tech. A good user interface provides, coupled with a good user experience, provide your learners the means to enhance their pedagogical potential. So if you talk about pedagogical potential, you are literally talking about the collaborative part of learning, the constructive part of learning, the shall we say the integrated part of learning, the ability to reflect on what they learn, and lastly, if you will, creating in your learners an inquisitive mindset. Now, these are again, areas that's going to be very important to thrive in the digital economy. So we talked a little bit just now about disrupting and also to enable what digital competencies means in a new economy. Now, to me, right, digital competencies literally falls into 3 areas: literacy, access, as well as participation. So as you are businesses and you help your specific business to thrive, you would want, as far as literacy is concerned, not only your employees, but also your customers to have the skills and confidence to use the technology which you have deployed, okay, in your organization. And if you talk about access, okay, besides having your employees able to transact digitally amongst your supply chain, amongst your organization, you also want your employees to be able to transact digitally with your customers. That's access. And lastly, when you talk about digital participation, okay, you create the right experience whereby not only businesses but your employees, your customers are able to use the technology that you have deployed for better business outcomes, and of course coupled with the optimal user experience to keep them coming back. So this is again where the ability of learning, time to learn, accessibility, coupled by the ability to use technology in a purposeful way, can help you to accelerate and to fast track digital competencies as you evolve into the new normal, if you will. So having prepared your learners for the digital economy, you are really looking at the following outcomes. You have lifelong as well as active learners, not page turners. They become decision makers, in their own right. They solve problems. They solve problems for, customers whenever they transact with customers. And going forward, this is my favorite. We're going to see an increasing environment of ambiguity. You're going to make decisions, the right decisions on the fly. You're going to make the right judgment. So you want to prepare your people to thrive in an increasing environment of ambiguity. And one more thing, we urge you to continue to look at new learning options and technologies as they evolve. So if you ask me, my view, what are the tech that will further transform corporate learning? I believe the LMS will remain the centerpiece of corporate learning. It will have centralized learning features, but it will transform to take the shape of a more inspired learning platform, the way we have described to you just now about learning experience. Okay, it will integrate purposeful technologies in some form in good time. When technologies become widely accepted, becomes commercially available, becomes cost effective rather, so all this for an engaging learning experience. AI will come in. It will help with the personalization of learning. It will even help with data-driven decisions. So that is a part on analytics that we have talked about. So it's very helpful, especially for companies, for decision makers, because there's an important bearing on cost savings as well as efficiencies. IoT, okay, the underlying enabler for IoT, if you will be 5G technology. So we're talking about more connected learning spaces. So today, you've already seen some of this, like sensors, like location-aware technology, like location-based learning, so and so forth. This is going to be many steps up from typical unified communications and collaboration tool. For instance, like a virtual classroom. It provides a better and a more connected experience. Immersive technologies. You've already seen this being used, particularly in technical disciplines. Areas like AR, VR, MR. It will grow in time. Okay, and gamification, today is already happening. It makes learning more interactive, but with the considered and careful infusion of immersive tech, I believe that this area is going to grow. Last but not least, biometrics. Okay, I will see this as a very, very important area because it will enhance safety and security, not just physically, but also, virtually. When you talk about, say, certifications, online examinations, right? This will be one vindicator for online exams. Facial recognition could be, one such possibility. So, if you talk about technology, these are some of the areas that are, fast coming on board, that are growing. we will carefully study, carefully consider, some of these areas, and at an appropriate time, right, they can be infused, into the entire learning continuum or the entire learning technology continuum. So this is what I have. I thank you for your time. You can contact me at any time for further questions. But just before I go, let me give you a random break. This is the pizza reader. Think about it. Why is a pizza made round? And you ship the pizza in a square box, but you eat it in pieces of triangle. Okay, think about it. It's a reader, all right. But there are some answers to that. Now, tech companies or technology companies make some of the darndest thing. Like for instance, Apple. It is true. It's a true story. Apple has actually developed or made a round pizza box with thermal flow technology. Okay, they have patented it, I believe. But it's never made it out to market because it's not their core business. Okay, HP, where I've worked for many years, they were the original inventors of the automatic washroom flushing system with optoelectronics. Believe me. But these are things that never made it out to the market. So think about the pizza reader. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Lawrence, for your time. We will continue the presentations with the presentations from Oliver Nussbaum. So hi, Oliver. I'll give you the presenter, right? So Oliver is our Managing Director of IMC Austria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi.
Thank you, Francisca.
Oliver.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I warmly welcome you. I'm talking to you from Austria. Yes, Austria, not Australia. So we're located in the middle of Europe. It's in the morning here. And I'm going to be talking to you about a special new product which we are developing at the moment for a year now, and will be released by the end of this year, beginning of next year. And it's really about user-generated content. And we ask ourselves the questions all the time, can everyone be a producer of learning content? Or we exclaim, everyone can be a producer of learning content. But is it true, or has it ever been achieved before? No. But, it's not a no, it's a yes. In the private sector, it has been achieved. If you think about YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all the other social media channels, it has been possible to create content, sometimes meaningful content, not always just something for fun, but it has been possible to create content for everyone. So it can be that easy. But I'm in the development of e-learning and learning for over 20 years now. And I really ask myself the question, has it ever been successful in the corporate environment or within organizations? Is it possible to do that? And there the answer is unfortunately no. I've never seen anything that makes it possible, any software that makes it possible, save, let's say, PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, but it's neither online nor collaborative, nor can it do anything in terms of e-learning, because it doesn't have the interactivity and such. So it hasn't been done. And why hasn't it been done before? Why is it so? Because it is still too complicated. That's what it is. It's still too complicated. There are certain specialists in organizations that really are able to create content, but for the mass of the people who still have a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of knowledge in your companies, in your organizations, which cannot be digitized because the people don't know how to do it. So it's too complicated. Why is it too complicated? We're going to take a look at that. It's pretty simple if you think about it in a detailed way. What's missing? So really everyone can produce learning content. First of all, the functional understanding of software. Software is and was still too complicated. There are good examples for easy software, especially if you look at the app market. There are lots of apps out there which are pretty easy to use, very, very easy to handle. But if you're thinking about creating e-learning content or learning content or meaningful content, it's still too complicated in terms of functions of software. So if you think about the classical authoring products for e-learning, they can do a lot, but it's too much. So we need something easier. That's the first point. The second point is most people don't have any awareness what good design is. What's a good design? What's good for screen? They write too much text. They bring too many pictures, they clutter everything, they mix up the font sizes, and they mix up all different design styles. So you know it from yourself, if you hand out PowerPoint templates from your organization or company, you get back, if you hand them out to 100 people, you get back 100 different results. So that is pretty key. A good design is pretty key to creating good things for the screen, you know. So that's 2 points. The third point is really something that almost no one has in him or her. It's a basic digital, basic knowledge of didactical, you know, of a didactical viewpoint, of being able to didactically produce meaningful content, to actually have an idea what it means to train people. That's not easy. Even teachers and university professors have that problem. They are really good in their, you know, in their fields, but they often lack the didactical knowledge to transport that knowledge into the user's brain, you know. So that is something that's missing almost all the time. If people, when people are creating content, when people are doing things, sometimes it's too short, it's too easy. The other times it's too long, it's too much text. It's pretty much the crowning achievement for everybody who creates an e-learning, to actually create something that is not only the right amount of knowledge, but also interesting and very, very much a story like, you know. So what can we do about that? It's pretty simple. We just need to provide a software who does all this, which does all these things. And that's why we came up with this product, which we will be calling BLISH. BLISH comes from the term publishing, and we just say publish all you know, but publish it in a good way. You know, the software will be really easy to use because it will have lots of easygoing features. It will have artificial intelligence built in, which helps you a lot. And it will also have something that we call it's a bit of a weird term, but we call it the dictatorship of good design, which means that you will be able to create really stunning courses without having any idea what good design entails, because we will lock the text sizes, the fonts, the colors. BLISH even thinks about what is the best layout for you. You will not be able to change anything in terms of a graphical way, in terms of design. You just use your own pictures, use your own text, use your own videos, and type in your questions. But you will not be able to change how it looks. And that's why we will achieve a great looks. Will always look good and polished. And it saves also a lot of time. And the third point is we're gonna bring didactical templates, which means there are templates for every type of training, which will help you creating meaningful content. It will guide you through a process, for example, for a product training or for an onboarding or for a how-to or whatever it is. There will be templates for, let's say, one-pagers for 3 minutes, for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, and it will have a red line through it. A wizard will guide you through creating a meaningful content, which hasn't been done before, to my knowledge. So this is really new, and everything points in the way of making everything easier, making it possible for everyone, really everyone. Basically, everyone who has a browser installed can create meaningful content because it's a cloud system. There will be no installation. The barrier is really, really low. So this is something we achieve to do, and it will naturally be connected with the learning management system. And since we have 10 minutes left, I really want to show you something that no one else has seen before. I will show you a pre-beta version of BLISH, and we're going to create a content together. I cannot show you everything now because the release date is still a few months away. But we will try and create something here from scratch. This is BLISH, what you can see here. It's a browser interface, and probably won't look that way. You know, it's there will be your logo up there and your colors, and there will be a different project setup page. But it should consist only of a few buttons. So we started a blank project here. I started already one. It's about the moon of Saturn, which is called Hyperion. I just have that as a demo here. And what I'm gonna do is I just go ahead and take this Word file here. It's a Microsoft Word file. Which I prepared. It has information about this moon. What I'm going to do here is I drop that Word file onto BLISH. Yes, you can drop documents on it, and it already creates the text that has been in the Word document. Let's call it Hyperion, and here we go. Oops. Name. So you can type in information. You can copy in information, and this is a bit much in terms of text. You know, this is what your project will look like when you're creating it. And while you're creating the project, it always looks like, you know, everything comes after another object. But BLISH will be thinking about that. It will analyze your content. It uses artificial intelligence to do that. It will analyze your content, and once it analyzes your content, for example, this content is very much consists only of text. It will be looking for a nice layout that can transport your text in a nice way, then it will put out, the output will be an adaptive content. Adaptive means it adapts to your screen size. It will determine what kind of layout you see in terms of screen size. And then it will also be responsive. So we are doing everything that you can actually start your content and just write your text and put your pictures in and put your videos in and your interactivity, and you don't have to think about anything else. Speaking about output formats, we could output HTML5 content which plays in a browser. We will output naturally SCORM content for your learning management systems. And there will also be outputs like ebooks, like podcasts, PDF documents. There will be lots of different outputs from one content, and it will be layouted. It will be doing lots of things. Now, if we put in a picture here, let's say this is the place we just put in a picture. As you can see, I have several pictures of the moon. This is one of them. If you click on one of those pictures, it's imported already. We have a picture database which fills itself with your pictures in your projects. It has an artificial intelligence that actually determines what kind of picture this is. It said already it's a mineral, it's a moon, it's a rock. Okay, let's kick the mineral because it's obviously not a mineral. And we can type in another tag, for example, let's say space, and all the pictures are tagged and they are automatically identified. And you can use that in your story. So I've used it already. Here we go. This is the moon, and then we have another picture which we want to insert here. It's from, yeah, it's from Saturn. It also tagged this picture automatically. So it's pretty great what it can do, and it's really easy to create something with it. Now imagine dragging videos in there, asking questions. There will be the possibility in the beginning to have single and multiple choice questions included. And it will also, what it also will do is it automatically creates audios out of your text. Hold on a second, I just switch off my headphone here. It can automatically create audios. Just listen to this.
The moon is named after Hyperion, the Titan god of watchfulness and observation, the elder brother of Cronus, the Greek equivalent of Saturn in Greek mythology. It is also designated Saturn VII.
Okay, we have built-in audio capabilities for all the texts that are in your project. Sorry, I just switched to the headphone again. Okay, I just switched to that. All right, now still looking like this. Okay, what's also really great is it can do collaborative things. You can, for example, go to the settings. Oops, sorry. Can go to the settings, and you can. So what happened there? Sorry. The GoToWebinar just did something. Okay, you can go to the project settings and add members to your team. For example, I add my colleague here, just type in his email address, and he gets an invitation via email, and he can work on my document and collaborate with me. He can also have an approval process, which means there are people in the settings who are able to approve your content before it gets actually published. So it's really easy to collaborate with BLISH on your content. And what it also does, it can leave comments here. You can type in a comment. Seems too long. Please shorten, for example. So for other people to read who are working with you on your project. And one other thing which is really great, it's
sorry,
you can have,
Oliver.
yes?
Sorry, I think we are sorry to cut you because we are I mean ahead. I mean not ahead. I mean we are already too long from our initial schedule. So perhaps maybe you
Okay.
can end. Yeah, so sorry about this. Thanks,
Okay,
Oliver.
I thought I had 1 minute left, so I sorry. I just end in a second. Give me 1 more minute. I just showed this thing. We can change languages and you can switch between different languages and it will be automatically translated into that language, which is pretty much a cool feature. We also have an artificial intelligence that does that. We have all the world's languages embedded into BLISH. And last thing I show you, if you make an output, it can look like this, or it can look totally different. It's really depends on what you want to have as an output. This is what will look like on the screen, and this is what it will look like on a mobile phone. So that was my presentation. Feel free to contact me at any time concerning the new product. Get in contact with our people who are talking to you here in Asia and Pacific region. And I hope you will all be blishing soon and publish lots of content. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Oliver. So last but not least is our presenter, Nick from Down Under. Hello, Nick. I would like to congratulate Nick as well as the IMC Australia team for winning the Platinum Award in LearnX for the Best Design Thinking Talent Strategy for the project in the Victorian Department of Health and Human Services. We are looking forward to your presentation, Nick. Please.
Thank you very much, Francisca, for the kind introduction. And hello, one and all. I assume you got my title screen there. Good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you're coming from. Maybe good morning. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something called employee experience. And look, it's a very exciting topic. I guess, you know, employee experience is it's spoken about in many cultures and various organizations, and to be honest, it can take on, you know, many different forms that are kind of out there. But something, you know, I sort of wanted to really talk about today is it's I don't really think it's spoken about enough, and it's that employee experience can be a really powerful way towards improving your organizational learning and ultimately the future performance of your organization. And so I guess if you're in the business of improving and evolving the identity of learning within your organization, then starting with the redesign of your employee experience is actually a really safe and one of the best ways to possibly start out. So today we're going to begin by really defining what employee experience is. We're then going to look at why it really matters, and we're going to sort of land on a few inspirations and insights I've been able to gather from the field, which really illustrate how it's actually relevant to learning. So let's begin by defining employee experience. So employee experience encapsulates what people encounter, observe, and feel throughout their employee journey within any organization. Now, like many kind of strategic elements in design, they're a bit intangible and, you know, their core definition can leave much to be desired. So to really understand experience, we've got to dig a little bit deeper to define what experience really is itself. And so experience really has three things which occur, right? It always starts with an event. Now, being human beings, these events emote various feelings and emotions, which in turn create memories, right? And so what's really interesting with experience is that as humans, we tend to correlate our memories with our feelings and emotions, right? Now, an example of this would be something like, okay, was that a good or a bad feeling? Therefore, is it a pleasant, a painful, or a forgettable experience? Now, I know on the surface, this kind of looks a bit irrelevant. How does it fit into organizational design? What does it have to do with learning? That's pretty common until you sort of begin to do this, right? When we begin to look at experience design, not as an isolated event, but as an interconnected series of events over time, which generate feelings and memories, you know, it becomes really easy to see how these events, you know, that are experienced by your people or people inside of an organization begin to form their identity, their attitudes, behaviors, and guiding ideas towards the organization. Now, make no mistake, this is ultimately your organizational performance, right? Happening at a really deep level. And the results of which, you know, often enough form the answers to some of the really big questions around performance and retention and the overall culture. An example of this is people asking themselves, well, am I valued here? Should I stay or should I go? So there's quite a lot behind this. And so one of the challenges in this space is that really for far too long, the way in which we've built our organizations has been based on an assumption. And it's an assumption that people need our organization and they need to work at our organization more than we actually need them, yeah? Now, whilst this may very much have been true 150 years ago, we live in a very different world today. And so this assumption, you know, if you sort of look within cultures, is really deeply embedded inside that organizational design. And the result of which, you know, has ultimately created something I call tokenisms. See, employee experience isn't just about creating great experiences. It's about establishing a culture and an identity where, I guess, the learning and development of an organization is fundamental to its actual success. But, you know, unfortunately, instead of that, we've ended up with beanbags and cake, lots and lots and lots of cake. Now, I like cake, I do, but it's not employee experience. And, you know, moving forward, what employee experience is really about is it's about shifting a workplace culture from a perception of people needing to work somewhere to one of people wanting to work somewhere. Okay, it's quite a big changeover. And, you know, ultimately, it's my sort of perspective that employee experience is one of the most important investments an organization can make, ever. Organizations exist not because of people, but for people. And for people, the events they experience transform their memories in many ways, and their memories into the guiding ideas, attitudes, and behaviors towards their own performance within the organization. Now, the data on this is crystal clear. Crystal clear. There's been a huge body of work done on employee engagement, and it's clear that organizations with engaged employees have a long-term employee retention, a higher level of productivity, and a significantly improved quality of work. So moving forward, employee engagement will be replaced by employee experience. It's really best to think of employee engagement as the prototype for employee experience, and to think of it not just as an outcome. Okay, so we've now defined what employee experience is. We've discussed why it matters. I now want to share with you a series of insights which I've learned from working in the field within this particular context. The first one is that there's a clear definition between two types of organizations out there, okay? There's the experience-led organization, and then there's the non-experiential organization, all right? So experience-led organizations understand that their customers' experience is a direct correlation to their employees' experience, yeah? They learned long ago that if they treat their employees as good, or if not better than they treat their customers, then that organization thrives and is able to reach its full potential. For non-experiential organizations who haven't really clicked onto this yet, there remains this kind of chasm, right? And it's a sort of a disconnect between their own people and the people they seek to be in service of. And for many organizations, you know, that this sort of thought has never really occurred to, the end result never changes, right? There's always a bit of a negative impact on the front line of that particular organization. Now, the experience-led organizations who are out there who get this, which makes up about 6%, who do a really good job in the employee experience, are literally crushing the competition. In fact, many of them don't even have a competitor, okay? They really kind of understand this. And I really sort of want to underline here, I don't believe you need to be a LinkedIn or an Apple or a Facebook or anything to be able to produce a great employee experience. So, brings us to our next insight, and it's that employee experience exists and is enabled by the 3 pillars of L&D. The 3 pillars being orientation, induction, and development. So to illustrate this, I'm using this employee life cycle here, right? Everyone's probably seen one of these, and obviously we've all been through one of these as an employee, regardless of what level we might be within an organization. Now, I want you to think of each and every milestone within this life cycle really as a touch point or an event in the employee experience. Within this life cycle, the events exist across these 3 pillars of onboarding, role-specific induction, and of course, ongoing development. These are really 3 staples, and they're actually a very safe bet, because I believe that even in these changing, crazy times where, you know, capability statements of organizations are going to go out the window and they need to change how they do business, you can bet that these will not budge no matter how we choose to operate as an organization. So they're really worth focusing on. Now, what I really want to say is this. At each of these milestones, every organization really has a duty of care to ensure these events create a positive employee experience. If they don't, they put themselves at risk. Now, at each of these particular events, they have a very specific set of feelings and memories which really need to be established. Now, every organization is unique, but based on my experience, these are the kind of universal kind of needs that I've seen in my time. And if you're able to deliver on these and deliver on them really, really well as an organization, then you're going to really increase your retention, employee retention that is, and optimize your performance. If we zoom out for a second and we kind of back up, you know, we can really see how this fits back into that bigger picture of the employee life cycle, and really why it is such a critical point to nurture for any organization. So brings us to our next insight, which is that employee experience is basically garbage in, garbage out, but for people and culture. That is to say, if you put the people through garbage as an employee experience, then what's going to come out the other side, right? It's going to be a poor optimization of people. So for many organizations, they are, I think, unable to really recognize the need for employee experience, and more so at a deeper level, the difference between training and development. And what happens in my experience when this occurs is that sadly, this sort of training that they have becomes the core employee experience, and it kind of stops there with little to no ongoing development. And so if you neglect this employee experience and you feed your culture a diet of nothing but compliance, right? Because compliance is kind of mandatory, then you put yourself severely at risk as an organization. And this is something that tends to fly under the radar a lot, okay? Let me illustrate why. Across these 3 core pillars, as I've mentioned, we have a duty of care as organizations to really provide a great employee experience. If we fail to provide a good onboarding, people will not know how they fit in or where they belong. Now, if this happens, they will eventually move on to find a place where they do belong, right? And the onboarding, as we all know, is critical. If we don't get it right there, things quickly fall apart. The same goes with induction, really, right? If we don't provide a really good, robust, in-depth induction, then people are going to feel like they're not learning and growing, and they're going to seek out learning and growth elsewhere, not inside of the organization, and that is not a good thing. And then lastly, development. So I think from what I've seen, development is the thing that organizations really struggle with. It's something they really don't get, okay? And in most organizations, or many out there, development just doesn't exist, right? So what this does, sort of around this sort of tenure period, after a while, if people don't get that development, they tend to get a bit of a notion that, in fact, they don't actually matter to the company, that their purpose doesn't matter to the company. And they will find a new place to call home where they feel that they matter. So these are really, really important stuff if you want to keep your people for longer, optimize their performance, and evolve as an organization. So next insight, experience, of working kind of in the experience domain, and like a lot of this sort of strategic work, it's a systemic design challenge, yeah? It's not a single event. Much like learning is never just the module, it is never just the performance aid, it's never just the workshop, right? It is a series of interrelated systemic events. So we need to kind of work with that where we're sort of in this space. So to explain how we design experience, it's best to take some terms and some ideas from the sort of theatre and drama world. I find it much easier to work with clients and co-design this stuff when we do this. And so when designing experiences inside of organizations, it's best to refer to its elements and infrastructure, its people and its interactions as props, actors, scenes, and events. And so a common artifact that is developed within the experience world is a experience framework, right? And a framework such as this is developed through rigorous and deep research with many aspects of the organization, including the employees themselves. What you're looking at now is actually a piece of work we've done for a recent client where we redesigned the first 90-day experience for all of their new starter employees, right? And so if we break this down for a second, I'll sort of take you through it. So let's start by having a look at our actors, right? After some research, it sort of becomes clear that everything doesn't really just fall on the new starter themselves. There's actually a lot happening from the managers, or a lot that needs to happen. And if we look at the new starters for a second, we can see sort of three things that are kind of happening, right? Throughout this kind of first 90 days for a new starter, they need to feel valued. They need to be aligned to what actually matters, and they need to be heard as they move through that new starter experience. We then sort of further define the roles of both peers and managers here. So here you can see managers need to be open to working with new starters in specific ways, to find ways to create connection and to walk the talk and to be a living and breathing embodiment of the organizational values. And what's interesting when you do this work, sometimes it becomes quite obvious that it's actually managers who actually need quite a lot of support in order to enable the right type of culture to occur. Now, if we have a look at these scenes as well. So these scenes really represent the common situations faced by a new starter in this particular client's context. Having identified these really now enables us to have that strategic foreshadowing across a multimodal ecosystem to ensure that we're able to establish I guess a long-term and a sustaining cultural experience. And this could be their very first steps in something. It could be something to do in their day-to-day interactions. It could be a significant event of change or growth, and other elements of collaboration as well. And so lastly, not only do we identify and personify the human technology inside of this employee experience, but further work to personify the content and technology that's being used to actually support and enable the employee experience itself. This is an incredibly important part of the process. For this particular client, as you can see, point of need is really, really key. So not bombarding people. You know what it's like when you start a new job, you get cognitive load issues, you get information overload, you're nervous, you don't know if you're going to fit in. So trying to minimize the amount of noise that employees experience is kind of really important, but also getting the job done at the same time. Simplicity also plays into that. Having a person-first design ethos towards everything we make. Consistency, of course, things like branding, tone of voice, location, structure, so on and so forth. And then lastly, this idea of champions. We have a number of champions in this project. We champion for specific things. Technology is a champion of, for example, and same with managers and other actors and props. So in summary, what you're looking at is an experience framework, and it's the result of deep research within an organization, and it really represents the very first steps of an employee experience. There's a lot more material that goes beneath a kit like this, but hopefully it's kind of illustrating, you know, how it is possible to create an ideal employee experience for the vast majority of people within your organization, and ultimately better learning and better performance over time. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time. I'll pass it back to Francisca now.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick, for your presentation. Yeah, it's very interesting. And I also forgot to share that Nick is actually the head of learning experience, design and strategy of IMC Australia. So yeah, so he is the brain behind the awards that actually the IMC Australia received. So yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. Okay,
Most welcome.
so okay, yeah, thanks. So don't forget, if you have any questions, just put your questions in the chat, and we will address your questions during the panel discussion. Okay, so then I will continue with the poll, and we will also continue with the panel of discussion. Hello, Dan.
Hi, thanks, Francesca. So yes, thank you, everybody. So I hope you got some good value out of the speakers. A number of interesting things that that were raised, and clearly the last session about employee experience has just you know, become so much of a focal point for so many organisations. We're going to ask you another couple of poll questions. For those who hadn't joined us earlier, we actually asked 2 poll questions earlier in the session, and we've got 2 more now. So don't worry if you didn't get a chance to answer the earlier ones. But let's just jump into the next 2 poll questions, and then we're going to share the results with you. So the the third question that we've got here is, how well aligned do you think your organization's learning and development objectives are with the commercial or performance urgency? So how well do you think your L&D is aligned with the commercial objectives? So either very well, well aligned, partly aligned, or not aligned at all. So we'll just give you 10, 12, 13 seconds just to answer that, so we can collect as many responses as possible. So how well aligned do you think the organization's L&D objectives are with the commercial elements of the business?
Okay, yeah, it's still, yeah. Okay, people are still voting.
Yep, okay, we'll just give it another few seconds, Francesca.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go to the next question. On average, do you think you will see staff usage of your current learning systems increase in 2021? So there we go. Do you think you will see internally the usage of your learning systems increase? So significantly, moderately, probably about the same, a little less, or a lot less? So again, we'll give you another 10, 12 seconds to answer that particular question. Francesca, just give me a bit of a heads up when we've got a quorum.
Yeah, just hang on. Okay,
Sure.
yeah, I'll close.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so as I said, we asked 2 questions earlier. We've got these 2 questions now. I think everybody's sort of interested to see what each others have said. So first of all, let me just move my box here so I can see. Do you expect business conditions to improve? So most of you think that there'll be some moderate improvement, but together, you know, what is it, 69% think there's going to be improvement, and only 38% thinks it's going to stay flat or deteriorate. So that kind of aligns with the sample question. We sort of felt or got the feel of the mood of the meeting earlier in terms of how we thought people's moods were, which was generally positive. So that's a great result. I think 69% looking for some sort of improvement. Okay, let's look at the results of the next one. Okay, do you think that you're going to be doing more learning development? So 75% said yes, significantly or moderately more. So that's really good. So clearly not many people indicate that there's going to be less. There's at least going to be the same as 2020, but vast majority, 75% think there's going to be more, and that's great, and that's kind of the message that needs to be reflected up through the boards and through the the C-suite of organisations, that there is an expectation that this needs to happen, and it has it has real meaningful impact, and I'll touch a little bit more on that shortly. So final question there. Okay. So this was, how well aligned do you think the organization's objectives are with the commercial urgency? So yeah, and that's the concern. So isn't it? So nearly 60% think it's only partly aligned, or 64% think it's only partly aligned or not aligned. We really need to get that alignment in there, because quality learning and development of people, especially the younger generations in organizations now, is so fundamental to retention, and having a stable, happy and retained staff absolutely goes to the top and the bottom line, and that's the messaging that we want to sort of bring across. So yeah, I hope you found that interesting. It's certainly interesting for us to see that. And sorry, the last question, do we think that usage of the learning system will increase? So 74% think it's going to increase, and only 26% think it's going to be to remain steady. So learning systems have important places in organizations, and it's good to see that the expectation is going to increase. Even 22% thinking there's a significant increase is quite a material number. So that's great. Okay, so thank you for your responses to that. I think it's really interesting to share amongst each other. So Francesca, we're going to jump into the panel discussion now in terms of the Q&A. We have a number of questions that have actually come through. But before we actually address the questions, and remember, if anybody that's still got a question, please use the chat function, and we'll aim to address it. We'll have the panel members back up in a minute just to answer any questions that you've got. But before we do that, I just wanted to also introduce, or maybe I'll hand back to you, Francesca, if you wanted to introduce Ivana, or maybe I'll just do that. I'll just continue on and introduce Ivana, who is the head of our Asia operation based out of Singapore. Hi, Ivana. How you going?
Hi, Dan. Hi, Francisca. Good to be here.
Excellent. So, Ivana, before we sort of jump in to answer some people's questions, given that we're in the shared Asia Pacific region, I thought maybe you could just share with us just briefly some of your thoughts in terms of how are you seeing from where you sit running the Asian operation? How do you sort of see things unfolding for the rest of this year and then into 2021 in terms of the learning sector? What are you hearing from clients? What are you hearing from the market? Because that'd be really interesting. Now, for the audience, this is where we're going to bring in Felix, who's one of our really talented, incredible designers. And Felix is going to capture some of the things that Ivana and I are going to chat about now, just to show you a way of how information can be captured in an illustrative format, which can be really powerful when you're putting things out into the, into your, audience's hands. So I hope you really enjoy Felix, and thank you for joining us, Felix, and we look forward to seeing your interpretation of the things that we're talking about. So Ivana, yeah, maybe I can hand over to you, get a bit of an insight. While Felix
good.
just
Thanks,
says thank
Dan.
you. There we go.
Glad to also have Felix join us. So yeah, what exciting and insightful presentations so far. So yeah, hello, I'm based in Singapore today, and from my vantage point here, and also working with both customer and business partner groups across Asia, and also as a lot of our colleagues have presented today, there are three themes that look like will become more and more critical as we go into 2021. In summary, the three key themes are integrating learning into the new everyday, designing for relevancy, and measuring the learning outcomes that really matter. And so while these themes or ideas take shape from ideas in the past, it's really how we handle these topics in an increasingly digital way to help us achieve these goals better and faster. And so from a practical viewpoint, speaking with customers and business partners every day, this is what I'm hearing. In terms of the first theme of integrating learning into the new everyday, so even as we have seen now over the last months, the successful shift of traditional face-to-face classroom to virtual classroom, it's still very much a singular event, and many would say that it's a good beginning, but in this now more and more digital world, it's not enough for behavior change. And so we cannot expect significant results after just one session and perhaps an assessment. And moreover is that since it's still considered a formal event, and while these type of sessions have become easier to organize due to available virtual classroom tools out there, and the no need to arrange for a physical venue is still not enough. And so where customers have said where they need to go in terms of L&D professionals and HR is to integrate the learning beyond and to use additional learning interventions such as coaching conversations embedded into the learning journey, performance support cards, on-the-job mentoring, just to name a few, and to really embed this information and practice for mastery. So as a general theme, to go more and more digital, also like what Lawrence mentioned earlier, is also looking at the different learning tools with the learning management system as an anchor of how it connects to the virtual classroom tool, collaboration tools such as Microsoft Teams, knowledge management and authoring tools, and integrating them so that the learning is seamless within the everyday environment. The second theme is designing for relevancy. So across customer groups, I still see that in the planning phase, we are receiving still a list of courses from the business, and not because that L&D HR leaders, we don't want to look at solving the problems, but oftentimes the problem and the solution diagnostic is typically already specified by the business unit. So however, learners and system administrators want more relevance to the learning style and workflow. So even as we look forward now to 2021 with working remotely, we see our projects, L&D stakeholders having more conversations with colleagues with who they're designing for, like what Nick mentioned in terms of also creating that employee experience and having the right people come together to co-create for meaningful programs. And so from a learning system perspective, is also ensuring that the learning platform continues to work for the users of the platform rather than the other way around, because organizations do have their unique business processes. And then finally, the third theme, which I think has also resonated a lot throughout the series of these presentations, is that amongst many customer groups that I'm hearing and also in the polls, learning development is oftentimes seen as a sunk cost and a nice to have. And unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, many training budgets were cut. And so how do we move beyond that to have the right amount of data, because we believe in the value of learning, and learning means good business. And so how do we have the right tools? So it's for companies like IMC to really evolve learning analytics and dashboards to really look at integrating data from different systems into an easy and personalized way, to look at metrics like ROI, productivity, increase in revenue. So those are the three themes that I'm seeing across customer partner groups across Asia. But now to you, Dan, what do you see looking into the crystal ball for 2021 for Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of the Pacific?
Yeah, thanks, Ivana. For the Pacific region, so most of our market is obviously Australia and New Zealand. I think what you've said is pretty consistent with with the Asian market. Yet as I look forward to the last quarter of 2020 and into 2021, the dominant words that keep coming up again and again, and maybe Felix, you can even write these up for me, are the words adaptability, nimbleness, and alignment. And I think they're just words that just keep coming up in all these conversations. And many businesses, and I'll come back to those words in a minute, but many businesses are going through their 2021 strategic planning right now. And some may have already completed their plans, and they're now going back to revisit them with the view to make sure that they're relevant to the changed and Ivana, the probably long-term structural changes that we're seeing. And I get the sense that the language is changing out there as well. And I'm not sure if you're hearing this in Asia, but even a few months ago, just a few short months ago, people were out there and still saying, when things go back to normal, we'll do this and we'll do that. And I think the rhetoric's changing. And there's greater recognition, at least it's empirical recognition, that we're spinning on a new axis. And I've been using the analogy of the powerful earthquake in Japan of 2011 that shifted the whole country of Japan 8 feet and moved the Earth on its axis. So we're actually now spinning somewhere new. And I think in terms of the business landscape, we're spinning in a different place now. And we're probably never going back. So with that in mind, and love the way Felix is sort of coming up with that Earth axis and that different spin that we've got. But coming back to those words I mentioned earlier, adaptability. We've seen so many examples of businesses having to adapt to this new business as unusual environment. And I'm sure, Ivana, again, the same for you in Asia. So in a learning context, we've seen businesses pivoting from delivering in-house training sessions, doing off-site sales conventions, running professional development sessions or for compliance requirements, and they've had to go to a full digital delivery format. Some are doing it brilliantly and some are not doing it so brilliantly. But those that have adapted actually may well have maintained the consistency and control over their delivery processes. Then there's nimbleness, right? So it's one thing to adapt, hey? It's another thing to adapt and do it efficiently and effectively. And again, in just talking to our market here, our clients and also to some of our prospects that we're talking to, in a learning context, businesses who have been fast and adept at embracing new delivery mechanisms are having more success in maintaining effective communication and connection with their staff and stakeholders. And that goes to what Nick was saying about, effective employee engagement, right? So then there's alignment, and I think this is absolutely critical, and the poll questions touched on this as well, which is why we asked those poll questions too. Aligning the delivery of quick and effective and meaningful knowledge transfer with commercial performance imperatives of the business has never, ever been more critical. And this climate that we're in has highlighted it for the astute business people, the critical importance of knowledge transfer and learning to maintain and increase engagement with the staff and other stakeholders. It's never been more important. I'm just thinking that I remember reading, there was a research report that LinkedIn put out that talked about the millennials and the Gen Z groups, and they said that their primary driver, Ivana, was to connect with their organizations so that they feel that they're actually being developed. So they didn't say it was pay and they didn't say it was work conditions. They said they wanted to feel connected and that they wanted to feel that they were developing. So, that tells me that organizations who see themselves as genuine learning businesses and they're committed to growing and developing their teams, their time has come, because I think they're in the right position now. And they're embracing the technologies. We saw things like, BLISH or whatever, is available to them through LMS systems or whatever other technologies out there that are enabling them to deliver this learning, to those who are seeking this development and support and care. That's the other thing. They want to feel that the businesses care about them. And I think we all know that happy, stimulated, developing and supported employees are employees that are more likely to stay and contribute to the ongoing success of the businesses that they're part of. And for a CEO and a CFO, that's got to be ringing bells. A stable, developing workforce hits the top and the bottom lines. That's the whole alignment bit, getting that development in there so that it hits the top and the bottom lines. So just very quickly, a final point I wanted to make, which is based on an observation. Ivana, over the past few months, we've had numerous organisations in New Zealand and Australia talk to us about how do they knit their L&D programs into their 2021 business strategies. And many have recognized that as brilliant as a tool like Zoom or GoToMeeting or Teams is, they're only a small part of the learning program. And like Nick pointed out before, garbage in, garbage out. It doesn't matter how much you use Zoom or these things. If it's not good learning, if it's not good content, you're just not going to get the outcomes that you want. But those tools are critically important and feed into the whole sort of learning environment. So look, I guess before we jump into the a few of the questions, in conversations that I've had with our clients and prospects and across my network of business leaders here in Australia and New Zealand that are planning for 2021 to be different to what they're thinking may have been earlier this year, that learning, training, knowledge transfer, that's no longer the domain of the HR or the organizational development teams, but it's got to be the focal point for the C-suite and for the boards to consider how to develop this digital learning, right? To stimulate and ultimately retain the key staff that they rely on to meet those performance objectives. Yeah, critical that they rely on these people, so they've got to have them operating in the way that they want. So, businesses can no longer rely on, what I call the Krispy Kreme donut, lukewarm coffee, meetings together in the boardroom, to do in-house training, or they can't rely on the multiple daily trips down to the local cafe, which doubled up as the overflow meeting rooms when office rooms were booked. The challenges that have been thrown up are really exciting from a business perspective when it comes to learning. And I think given the right structure, format and length of it, the employee stakeholder development can be an absolute game changer for those businesses that get it right. As you can hear, I'm pretty passionate about it. I've probably waffled on a little bit too much, but that's what I'm hearing from the discussions that I'm having with with people in the market. So yeah, I hope that resonates and rings true with you, and hopefully with
Thanks
the
for sharing
audience as
that.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And go ahead.
no, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, I think, going back to the point where I made it, that now, with the evolution of learning tools and technologies like the, evolving learning analytics dashboard, we can provide the right types of data to help L&D and HR and the C-suite to really make those decisions, because we all know learning, talent development, employee experience, it matters. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Yep.
Oh, cool. Okay. So Ivana, or Francesca, actually, I think we'll just address some of the Q&A now. And Felix, thank you for your interpretation. I think that's all come up.
Oh, it's making
That's
me
all come up.
hungry.
Yeah. There's the donuts and the lukewarm coffee. Francesca, I think we can bring the panel back up because we've got a few questions that have come through from the audience, and so we can raise that now. So should we bring all the panel members back up so that we can address some questions? There's
Yes,
Nick back.
sure.
Hi, Nick. Welcome back.
Thank you. Hello.
Right. Have we got Lawrence back?
Hi, hello.
Actually, while we're waiting, Ivana, we've got Nick up at the moment anyway. So maybe we can start actually with a question for Nick, Ivana. The one that's popped up here is, Nick, questions come through. A lot has changed, and many organizations now find themselves with a huge opportunity to rewrite the way they do learning. So where does one start with employee experience? That's the question that's popped up. So maybe you can just address that quickly.
Sure. I think kind of as I highlighted in my talk, that the easiest and best place to start is by reviewing those 3 pillars inside of that employee experience, right? So your onboarding orientation, your job role specific inductions, and also your culture of development, right? Which is very strongly linked to learning identity and the way managers kind of drive development within your organization. So really, yeah, the best way to start is, as with anything, is to define why. Why do you want to create a culture that enables human performance, right? Really, really important stuff. From here, the first step would probably be to really take stock of what you actually have to work with. So those props I was kind of talking about, like you got a learning management system, have you got developers, have you got, what actors do you have? You might have coaches, you might have managers, you might have peer-to-peer support groups, all of this stuff. You want to kind of start to do a bit of an audit and really put all that stuff on the table, and then step back and think, okay, so how can we use the things we have to revamp our employee experience, or our culture of learning? That's a really important thing. It's a process. It takes time. I think maybe just to finish on that point from there, so the strategic process is to map everything out and to begin to redesign how and when and where events take place, and the types of memories you want to create for people, right? Because like I sort of said, those memories all clock up over time and become attitudes. They become guiding ideas. They become beliefs and behaviors about people's performance and what they see in the organization. And talking to the was it Gen Zs? I'm getting old now, so I lose track. But they're bang on the money. It's not about money, right? It's about, this is 3 years of my life to join your organization. If you develop me, I will be loyal, and I will perform for the organization. So that's really key stuff, I think, to hit. And I think, just to finish it, to never lose sight of the human technology. There's a lot of tech, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, but at the end of the day, it's humans, right? It's human technology. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
Ivana, have you got any other questions that you've seen popped up there while Nick was speaking?
Let me take a look. There are quite a few. So yeah, one question here, I think this one is for Lawrence. How should companies rethink its talent, skills, strategy so that we have the people we need when the post-COVID recovery starts?
Hi, that's a good question. So to me, really the challenge is about where and what to scale. What kind of skills are needed vis-a-vis the type of business that your company is in. So as L&D leaders, as business leaders, once you are able to reasonably determine the piece of the puzzle, okay, meaning what you need to scale and where you need to scale, companies can step in really by setting up its reskilling as well as its upskilling initiatives. When you do this, it's certainly going to help to boost morale by showing your employees that you care, especially in the new world order. Now, of necessity, employees here will need to play their part as well by stepping up themselves to learn, relearn, unlearn, and learning tech is going to come in here, really by speeding up accessibility, time to learn, and all the attendant benefits that you're able to derive from learning in a digital fashion.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Okay, so now, and then some questions for the new product BLISH. Oliver, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
I think. Okay, great. So I think
Sure.
there's a couple of questions here for BLISH. One is, what is the release date for BLISH? And the second question is, does BLISH replace the IMC Content Studio?
Okay, good questions, both of them. First of all, we're trying to have it released by the end of October this year. So anything after that or by the end of October would be great for you if you try to
Sooner the better,
BLISH
right?
your content. Yeah, go ahead, BLISH your information. And yeah, it will not be replacing Content Studio, because Content Studio is a constructive authoring tool which gives you a lot of functionality, lots of features for multimedia specialists, for very let's say interactive e-learning. So it's a bit more high level than BLISH is, but as I already mentioned, only certain type of people can access it, can work with it. It's for multimedia specialists, for e-learning specialists, but BLISH is for the masses. So yeah, it will not be replacing Content Studio.
Thanks, Oliver.
Excellent. Thanks, Oliver.
Okay, now, so Wolfram, do we have you still with us? I think we have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so the question is, will the Learning Analytics dashboard be part of the current LMS that we have purchased, or is it an extra feature? And is it available now?
Yeah, the learning analytics dashboard will be a separate component, meaning it's tightly integrated with our LMS, meaning we take the data from our LMS, we put it into an analytics store, we add business data to it, and then we do the analytics on top of this data store. So it's a separate component, fully integrated with the LMS. You can also integrate to external components, which are not coming from IMC. So we are open on this side. So that was question number one. And the second one was?
The availability date of that.
Yeah, we did. So we are now starting to work with first customers. So we do a step-by-step approach. I believe that looking to the schedule we have, that we can deliver first results, let's say, by end of the first quarter next year.
Thanks, Wolfram. And yeah, to Dan's point earlier, then we can also work with you to plan that for 2021 and beyond. So yeah, do get in touch with us to discuss that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Wolfram.
Yeah, Ivana, just a quick reminder that for anybody else that's got any other questions, could be for the speakers or for any of us or anything general, just use the chat function and pop this question in there, and we'll try and address it. We've still got a couple of others that are in there, Ivana. I saw one that just popped up earlier. I haven't got it in front of me at the moment, but I remember the gist of it. It would be for you, Nick, and that's really maybe just talking about what's the difference between training and development. I guess there is an obvious one, but maybe you can sort of just address that. And in the meantime, by the way, before you answer, I hope everybody's enjoying the interpretations, the visual interpretations of Felix. I certainly am. And again, just pointing out that you know, these are some of our capabilities that we use really talented people like Felix so that we can actually take content and work with our clients to come up with some really innovative ways of delivering information and learning. But Nick, sorry, let me get you to address that learning and that training and development option.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think definitions help. Probably one of the best definitions for training I've ever heard is it's the enforcement of rules and existing routines within an organization. That it's really something that stems from that existing mental model of the said organization, and fundamentally, you know, its role is to act as a baseline for performance, right? Across an organization, because we're talking about training the masses. It's training. Now, it's essential, but trust me when I say that is not development, right? And over time, I think a lack of development creates a negative, you'd call it an identity orientation towards performance, because learning, you know, will be viewed as a mandatory exercise and not as, like, I guess, a genuine opportunity to want to stay at an organization. So on the other side of that, development, to define development, development is really the permission and support permission and support for any employee to experiment, with the organizational resources at their disposal on a path of personal mastery, right? It's like, we're going to give you permission to use our resources to become better, to you know, develop yourself, right? Now, it could be internal projects, mentoring, shadowing, conversations, can take so many forms. But what's really important, I think, is that it enables people to seek and obtain personal mastery in meaningful ways. Now, the secret ingredient to development, funnily enough, I think, is actually entrepreneurialism. You know, and it's not something you see that often in organizational learning identities, but really we want people to develop themselves, right? We want to get them passionate, them to do meaningful development. So it needs the entrepreneurialism. And I think a really key attribute there is actually the managers and the organizational top-down attitudes and behaviors towards development. I think they play a really key role. So I really think it's a key part of a learning identity. I think a learning identity, whether or not you're a learning organization or not, is you know, really important stuff to ask yourself.
Yeah, I saw you nodding your head there, Ivana. I mean, you know, you and I have had discussions about this before when we talk about that, you know, that C-suite type, you know, group that, you know, we're trying to get in front of, because we know that for some of our clients who are the converted, they're the audience that know the importance of this stuff, and sometimes are struggling, you know, to push that message up the line, Nick. Yeah, that, you know, Ivana and I are trying to get into, you know, to talk to some of those organizations, because we don't want them to see it as a cost line. It shouldn't be seen as a cost line. It actually should be seen as a massive investment, right? You know, you talk about entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And there is some data out there, and I know we want to work on getting some more data, but I'm absolutely convinced of the correlation between those entities investing in this stuff, right, and really seeing the results of it and their actual performance. You know, desperately want to try and get more of that information, that data together to prove it, because, you know, the CFOs and the CEOs are going, well, we'll cut this line, and honestly, I think the line that least you want to cut at the moment, the one you want to stay well away from, is the one we were actually developing. Because if you are a people-orientated organization, you want to develop them. And I just saw you nodding your head there, Ivana, when Nick was talking about that.
Probably
I thought,
just oh, sorry, you go, Ivana.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I thought it was really interesting because I'm thinking about the current situation we're here this year, and also the insights from the audience around their poll about do they see more learning and development take place in 2021. So I think our colleagues and our friends and our customer groups are seeing that need, and so how do we drive more and more towards that, because we know it's really important. And then I was also reflecting about that, amidst a pandemic like this, if the company has a culture of learning, entrepreneurialism, then I think the ability to survive past this is also much higher. So just some reflections.
Yeah, I might just add on to that. I think because we sort of, when you take an organization, you know, whether it's flat or hierarchical, you still got a sort of a top-down identity deployment. This is who we are, this is what we stand for, so on and so forth. And then you've got a bottom-up, which is what the people want. And where the dilemma really lies is if what the top-down's saying doesn't meet what the bottom-up wants, then you've got a significant issue within your organization, right? That's where you get sort of this kind of calamity where things don't line up, and you start having performance issues, all sorts of things begin to happen. So it's really important to listen to the bottom-up, to work with the people in your organization who represent the audience of the learners. It's just it's a bit of a no-brainer, but not many places do it. So I just want to underline that.
You're right, Nick. That's where you get the misalignment, not the alignment that I spoke about earlier. And look, not to push anything, but for any of our customers on the call or prospects or whatever else, if we can help, if we can get in there, if you want to introduce us to have discussions and show some of the data and some of the results that we've actually achieved with some of our experiences, we're completely open to doing that. At obviously no obligation, no cost, nothing like that. We're just passionate about talking, especially to the C-suite about this. And if we can provide that sort of support, hey, Ivana, we'll be there like bears, right? Absolutely. All right. I don't see many other additional questions coming in. There was one last one. Maybe we'll just get Lawrence to address this last question. Remember, if there are any further questions from the audience, probably the last chance now as we drawing towards the end. But just quickly, Lawrence, a last question that came in was about what sort of investments are probably going to be most necessary in the learning technology area that will allow us to look at the 2021 sort of type strategies that businesses have got and thrive in that new environment. So maybe you could just touch on that quickly before we get to the close of our session.
Yeah, certainly. That's a very good question. So as forward-looking organizations, which you all are in, my view is that you are more likely than not, from the very start, you will purposefully retrofit your existing technologies that you are familiar with. So you're doing this so that you align to new business processes that will evolve with the digital transformation. So I'm talking about your LMS, your investments in virtual classroom solutions, your investment in content, etc. So effectively, we're talking about digital accessibility here. Digital accessibility, digital inclusion, and all this done in a secure and resilient underlying IT infrastructure. So in our view, or in my view rather, the LMS continues to be the centerpiece or the central portal where all your learning accessibility begins. So you're going to use it more. And I believe so. You find new and creative ways to use it even more. But as new technology and the creative use of new technology in ways that we have not yet even conceived find its way and infuse itself into your content as well as your LMS, the LMS will continue to be important. So decentralized learning features, like for instance, the ability to enroll in courses, the ability to get completion results will remain, but we believe that the system will morph itself more and more to become an inspired learning platform. And again, in creative ways that we have yet to see. So net is that you will, as a start, continue to purposefully retrofit your existing technologies and grow as technology evolves and mature.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you, Lawrence. Looks like we're right on time, Francesca. Look, if there are any additional questions, please, pop them through, and we'll try and address them offline. But Ivana, I think that probably brings us to the close of this this session. I think Felix has again done an outstanding job here, so we'll hopefully save all of that, Felix, so that we've got a record of it. But maybe Ivana, we'll just hand back to Francesca, and we can close off the session. By the way, Francesca's probably going to ask you to fill in a survey for us. I'll just, before she does that, just reiterate, it's really important for us to get that feedback. So I'm sure you're going to ask that anyway, Francesca, but I thought I'd just throw one in just to make sure we get people to give us some feedback on how they enjoyed the session. So yes, Ivana, thanks, and I'll hand back to Francesca.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Can I also ask all the presenters to turn on their webcam? So later, we just say goodbye to everybody. Thank you very much. I hope you gain lots of insight from the discussion and the panels today. Contact us if you need to align effective learning and development strategy with the organization's objective. We will send the video recording and the sketch note on the 1st of October. Meanwhile, feel free to participate in 3 questionnaires about this event. Thanks again. I hope you always stay safe and healthy. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.